This is 𝗕𝗿𝗄𝗃 in Chicago, and you're watching my channel Knowledge for Quality of Life. Friends, today is a baking day, and me and my wife will be doing the baking today. So we are making two sets of loaves, four sets of loaves, two for each category. One is going to be a millet and oat flour based, and then second is going to be a very low carb keto type bread for myself, which is based on coconut flour. So let's get to it. All right, so this is the setup for the first set of two loaves. I have actually prepared 4 pan loaves, placed parchment paper. One is this way and one is this way, so when the bread is cooled down, and it can come easily. We'll see that later. And now I have all the dry ingredients here. First, this is 1.5 cup millet, organic millet flour. This is 1.5 cup organic oat flour. This is 1/4 cup of organic psyllium husk to give the texture to the bread. This is 1/4 cup of pearl millet. These are whole seeds of millet. And this is 1/2 cup of organic flax seed. We just ground it just a while back. This is 2 tablespoons of baking powder and 2 tablespoons of baking soda, 1/2 teaspoon of Himalayan salt, pink salt, and 1 teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon. Remember that I explained in the previous vlog that we use Ceylon cinnamon, which is pretty good. So this is organic Ceylon cinnamon, and I'm going to be start mixing, pouring everything here and getting the dry mix ready. I'm going to be mixing this thing. I like to use my hand because there are some granules here. It needs to be completely broken down into flour, and that's normal because these flours are fresh flours, but when they are sitting in the bag on the shelf, they get airtight, and for whatever reason those granules. So that what happens that when I'm going to be putting the wet ingredients to mix the dough, if there are some granules left over, it's not going to get mixed properly, and then the bread is not going to rise the way it should. And you will see that pretty soon in the whole process. So take your time, mix it very well. I wash my hands 2 to 3 times before touching anything, and I'm very particular about that. So I'm going to take my time. This is the main thing. You need to take your time and mix it really, really well. That's pretty good, I guess. And we'll move to the next step. All right, so I'll be mixing with all the ingredients, dry ingredients for my bread, which is based on organic coconut flour. This is 1.5 cup of organic coconut flour. Here I have 1/2 cup of flaxseed, ground flaxseed, 1/4 cup of ground chia seed. We just grinded now a while back. 1/3 cup of psyllium husk, 1/2 cup of walnut granules. I just crushed it. 2 tablespoons of baking powder only. 2 tablespoons of baking powder. 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, and 1/2 teaspoon of Himalayan salt. So I'll be mixing everything, all the dry ingredients, and have this mix ready. Remember that, you know, this walnut I eat because it helps me in keeping my HDL high. You know, every bit counts. So I have shared enough in the past vlogs. Those who are interested in looking at it, this is just one factor. It's not the only factor which will raise the HDL, but this increases your HDL to some extent. So all these factors, whatever it's there, they are out there. One has to utilize it to get the maximum to your HDL to the optimum level. So as I said before in the previous mix, you have to take time and mix it very well. And don't worry about if the granules of the coconut are unequal, because when we are going to cut the loaf, it's going to just slice through. No worries at all. That's it. I think it's pretty good. All right, now we are going to do the wet ingredients. This is 4 medium-sized banana. These are 6 mashdul dates. We don't use the sugar in our baking. As a matter of fact, we don't have a sugar in the house at all. And took the pits out. So these are without pits. These are 4 pasteurized eggs. And this is whole milk, which is grass-fed milk. And this is, the brand is Kelowna. You can get only at Whole Foods here. But, you know, any milk should do. Make sure that, you know, it's the whole milk because they add a lot of sugar and other ingredients when they take the fat out. So whatever the best pure milk is available in your local area, wherever you live, get them that milk, and that should do it. This one is extra virgin organic olive oil. This is apple cider vinegar, and this is what I'm going to do one by one to put into the blender to make the mix. So here is 4 medium-sized banana. Then dates, then I'll be measuring. By now I have remembered or memorized, as a matter of fact, you know, I've been doing it for some time now. 1/2 cup milk, look at the olive oil, how green it is. It's very rich in polyphenols, that's why. That's 1/2 cup. Now 1/2 cup, 1/4 cup actually. And this one we need 1/4 cup only. Now I'll give a good mix. last button, which is ice crusher, so that the dates can get really well crushed. Otherwise, you know, if you blend it, some of the flesh material of the dates are not going to get dissolved completely, which is okay too, because you know you will see in the bread. Now I'm going to be mixing all the wet ingredients along with the dry ingredients which I had before. Now this is again mixing. Take your time. The only thing is, as you may know, that in cooking you need patience. So particularly in baking as well, you know, you need patience. Take your time and mix it well so that all the granules can get touched by the wet elements. And you will see in a bit how it turns out. Basically, these 2 loaves in each category last us more than 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks sometimes. You see that how it's turning pretty much uniform? And you just go on at the bottom to see if there's some dry flour left. And if it is, then you haven't mixed it properly. Now I'll be putting in the loaf pan. I'm putting it uniformly first, and then I'm going to eyeball it to make sure that it has uniform mix. Distribution is pretty much equal. I just love these silicone set, the spatula, you know, it takes each and every bit. Now Now I'm going to give it a little tap and flat it out a little bit so that it rises properly. Remember I said I didn't use any yeast because people use yeast to give the bread a rise. Now I remember from my chemistry background when I was in high school that if you mix baking soda, which is sodium bicarbonate, and if you mix vinegar, which is acetic acid, of course it's going to turn into carbon dioxide. So for those folks who know a little bit science, that carbon dioxide is going to generate, and that's going to give a lift to the bread, and when the bread is going to come out of the oven, it's going to be very fluffy, you know, already rised, and you know, you'll see that effect. All right, so I'll be mixing the wet ingredients for the coconut flour bread. These are 6 dates. Pits have been taken out. 8 eggs. Then 1 cup. So this is a half a cup, so I'm going to measure twice. Sometimes I use yogurt as well. So if I don't have milk, then I would use yogurt. One cup of olive oil. The wet ingredients are almost double in this bread, coconut flour bread, than the millet and oat. The reason is that coconut flour absorbs a lot of moisture. And then half a cup of vinegar. I have done over the years a lot of iterations to perfect the bread, so it came with little practice. So if it doesn't work out with you in the beginning, don't be impatient, don't lose your hope, just keep trying. And I'm going to use again ice crushing, the last button option, because there is no banana here, remember that, because it's a low carb, very low carb bread. So I'm not using banana, because medium-sized banana is, I don't eat banana. Medium-sized banana is about 26 grams of carb, and sugar is besides that. I need to crush all the dates. That's why I'm doing it, because there's no banana here. I think that's good enough. So I'm mixing the wet ingredients with the dry, which I see this lot of residue of the dates are left over, so I'm going to give a good mix and then dump. I'm going to start mixing. In the beginning you will see that how loose it is, because as the time lapses this thing is going to get hardened. Remember that, because this coconut flour, 1 cup of coconut flour is equal to 4 cups of any other flour. So it just takes them. See how it started hardening. It's going to get thickened, but you keep mixing. You see this? So it changed the texture completely in few minutes. Now these are about 4 to 6 ounces of fresh cranberry. I used cranberry for my bread for years, and unfortunately I cannot get any sugar-free cranberry in the dried form. So I use it frozen cranberries, which is not available. Fresh cranberries are not available during the off-peak season. So there's a store nearby which they carry actually throughout the year frozen cranberries in their freezer. And I buy from them. So just put this thing, spread it out, and give it a good mix. I'll be honest with you, this flour to work with, it's not easy, it's tough, but when the bread comes out, it's really awesome. You have to be really patient to work with this flour. Now I'm going to start placing it. It's not flowable as before. I had a millet and oat. It's tight flour. So I have to put a placement with a spoon, big spoon, and then keep doing it. And then I'm going to distribute equally by eyeballing. There's no way to measure it unless I make one loaf at a time. But whatever the ingredients I have shown to you for each category of bread, if somebody wants to make one loaf, you can just divide all the ingredients by 2, make it half. Now that's how I have to fold it, wrap it. Because I want to make it a perfect loaf, so I have to make it this way, otherwise, you know, it's going to harden the way it is. Because it's not flowable. There's very too much viscous, this thing, because it's a coconut flour. And if you put too much liquid, guess what? You know, it's gonna become soggy. So when the bread comes out, it has to be a perfect moisture. When the bread comes out, it is just like a regular bread. You know, not too much moisture in it, because you know, if it's gonna sit in the fridge, I keep in the freezer this bread, because you know, otherwise it's gonna catch mold. It doesn't last that long, 2 weeks in the fridge. So you have to just work with this way. And honestly, you know, this thing came over time. It took me to get to this level almost 2.5 years, because I started my journey of making bread with the replacement of wheat flour. So I started with buckwheat, then I went to spelt, then I went to barley, then I switched to almond flour. Then, you know, as I figured out over time that almond is high in omega-6s, so I avoided almond and I moved to this coconut. I'm going to add a little bit here. Alright, I'm placing, the oven is ready at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm placing all the 4 loaves and the cooking time I'm going to place at 70 minutes. Alright, 70 minutes up. The loaves are out. The outer 2 are millet and oat, and the 2 middle ones are coconut flour with cranberries. See you guys next time.